Very much, Kevin. Can I just do a quick check that Milind is here?
I'm here, Dhaval.
Hi, Milind.
Hi.
Hi. We cannot see you. We can see you in the background.
That is strange. Let me just sort this out.
Yes.
That better?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you. So I'll do an intro and hand over to you, Milind. So we are very lucky to have a practicing expert clinician giving us an invited talk. Please welcome Milind Pande. He's an eminent cataract, refractive, and corneal surgeon, also a teacher and a lecturer. He has experience in strategy and R&D consultancy, education, research, ophthalmology, medical devices, healthcare information technology, and developing digital business. He's going to talk about CustomLens AI, his company he has founded, and the AI product that they are developing. So over to you, Milind. Looking forward to your talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see if I can share sound, optimize for video. Okay. Can you see my screen? Is the screen visible?
Yeah, we can see a screen. Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you, Dhaval, and the organizers for this invitation and this opportunity. It's a shame because of the weather we are doing it this way, but it's nice to be able to share things and learn from each other across the pond. Now, the strange thing is, for people who don't know, I live very close to Hull, in fact, in Hull in East Yorkshire, and this is the River Humber, and the clinic is in this building that you see here. And what is nice is that it is a beautiful part of the world, and it is always a pleasure to talk about the frustrations and the attempts at solving problems with different technologies. So I want to share what we've working on, which is an expert system to improve spectacle-free outcomes after cataract surgery. So because I'm aware that the audience is non-medical, so the first thing I would say is, what is cataract surgery? What is it we're talking about? So if you think of the eye being like a camera, the eye has two optical elements. It has the cornea in the front, which is a fixed focus lens. The optical power doesn't change through life. Then you have the lens, which is actually inside the eyeball, behind the pupil. And this lens functions like a zoom lens. So it allows you to change focus from distance to near in a continuous manner. And as we go older, that lens tends to first stiffen, which means you start needing glasses for reading, and then it becomes opaque, which means you can't see very well because the light transmission through that lens is being affected. So what we do in cataract surgery is we go into the eye, take that lens out, and replace it with a brand new plastic lens. Now, because we're going to put in a new plastic lens, there is an opportunity to work out all the optical modifications we need to do to that eye in order to refocus the system and get patients good vision without glasses. And that's really what is possible nowadays. Now, you will think seeing better without glasses is all about vanity. The fact is, there is a huge quality of life benefit in order to be able to function without glasses, especially in the elderly, because it's been reported there's a lot of improvement in the number of times people fall if they are not wearing glasses, and their overall quality of vision, their perception of their own vision, of their own quality of vision, of quality of life, is very high if they are not reliant on glasses. The other argument is we are going to change the lens anyway. All we need to do is to apply some clever mathematics and optics to work out what to do. So it doesn't alter essentially the risk to the patient, but you can get much better benefit. The sad truth is that this kind of surgery is not available in the NHS for some reason, and we'll come to the reasons for that. And not just the NHS, but even private insurers do not pay for this type of surgery, and patients invariably end up paying for it themselves. So a lot of cataract surgery, in fact, more than half of cataract surgery worldwide, is done in voluntary sectors to patients who can't afford surgery. So these patients get surgery done, they have a lens put in, and then they get given a pair of glasses, because the WHO standard for benchmark is that 85% of patients operated in these conditions should achieve 618, which is halfway down the chart, with glasses. So the patient can't afford surgery, they get given a pair of glasses, and 6 months later, the spectacles are damaged and the patient's back to square one. So the potential impact of universal spectacle freedom is huge, it's massive. And it is routinely possible to achieve this in patients. Practices like mine all over the world, more than 95% of our patients, we can get them to a situation where they don't need glasses for anything, literally anything. So this is a routine outcome, and I've been doing this for the last 25 years, and we've been getting better at it. And yet, more than 25 million patients are condemned to glasses after cataract surgery, unnecessarily, I think, to a large extent. We do about 30 million procedures a year worldwide. So it's a massive number to think of. The way this is done is we use high technology lenses and relatively complex optics, but more than that, it's the complexity of the surgical planning, the calculation of the optics, the mathematics, the individual modeling of the eye that comes in, and setting patient expectations is the other thing that is a big challenge. So in order to do the calculations, I will have to look through all these diagnostic outputs and do some calculations, use individual statistical models to run some of the optical calculations, and then choose a type of lens from 8 different categories of lenses and different optical designs to work out what is it that's the best for a patient. So we set up CustomLens to smash through these barriers. We are now part of Microsoft for Startups also. And what CustomLens is designed to do, I guess the best way of doing this is to sing along.
At CustomLens AI, we're making a stand. Universal freedom, no glasses in hand. Post-cataract surgery, clear vision we see. Despite advancements, many still need to be free. Over 20 million with glasses they cope. Premium IOLs, only 15% hope. We aim to boost this 50%, no less. In 5 years' time, we'll see success. Surgeons face challenges, so many to choose from. Countless aisles, it's easy to lose. Accurate corrections, they struggle to find. Complexity halts them, it's time to unwind. Patient expectations, vision outcomes so clear. CustomLens AI, we're drawing them near. Streamlining plans, predicting with ease. Welcoming surgeons, aiming to please. Empowering surgeons, spectacle free. With CustomLens AI, clear vision we see. Revolutionizing sight, for one and for all. A future envisioned, we answer the call.
That really is, it is an AI meeting, so why not use AI to do this? So we have an innovation team, which is led by me, and we have a collaboration with Professor Rami Kwaji, and Ali is employed onto this as a full-time person. And we have a KTPE Research UK Innovation Grant, which started off just after COVID. We also have a big scientific advisory board. These are the who's who of cataract and refractive surgery worldwide who advise on this. And we've generated 2 algorithms. The first algorithm is essentially an AI-assisted expert system where the clinical history examination data, the diagnostics data, and surgeon preferences data is inputted. The data is validated, and the algorithm then generates an automated surgical plan for the surgeon to execute. The second algorithm is based on a unique data set we have, which on the basis of which we can actually predict what a patient can see in terms of their vision chart, but also what they can do in terms of tasks for near, intermediate, and so on and so forth. So this is where we're at the moment. The usual verification and the patient registration. This goes on, we fill in all the data, history examination, everything, all the data inputs that are required for this. The diagnostics are uploaded. These are PDFs which can be OCR'd into the system. And then everything is got ready for the surgeon who will come in, review everything, and there's an automated surgical plan that is generated through the algorithm per se, once it's suggested. And this output tells them every detail they need to know in order to go and do surgery. So this is like a work order for a surgeon. And along with that, we get a set of patient expectations as to what the visual acuity, which is the level of vision on the chart, what the task performance will be, and what the subjective questionnaire, which is patients who've had previous surgery using these techniques, what do they think in terms of their vision without glasses for those particular situations? So the use cases are universal. For expert surgeons, this will add efficiency, quality control, reduce chair time. And the biggest improvement we will see will be in surgeons who are not experts, because it takes away the entry barriers for all non-expert surgeons to start doing premium surgery and offer the benefits of this to their patients. It also efficiently scales up the complex process needed for personalized surgery. And this is where this will come in for high volume state as well as private providers like the NHS or government, as well as quality control. And a biggest impact we will see would be in those situations where in the third world, in the developing world, free surgery provision is done. And if we can improve the vision without glasses in that context, it has a huge societal impact worldwide. It'll also increase the size of the premium lens market and the surgery per se. So really, CustomLens AI is about simplifying excellence. We want to drive the figure from 15% to 50% towards universal spectacle freedom. So what about responsible AI and CustomLens AI? How have we approached this? I have always looked at AI as just as a pattern recognition tool amongst a whole range of other pattern recognition tools we use. And in order to choose a particular tool for a particular problem, we have to be able and willing to use the whole scope of techniques of AI and not just a particular set of techniques. There's also the question of how accurate do we need to be? And this came up in the previous discussions too. The fact is, there are two factors that drive this as to how accurate and how robust one should be with the AI. If the consequence of getting things wrong is relatively mild, you can take a relatively loose attitude to that. But if the consequences of getting things wrong is quite severe, then we have to get AIs and whatever techniques we use to have safeguards and safety nets built in to reduce the chances of those very severe consequences coming into play for patients. The biggest problem I see in healthcare AI is the quality of the data. The poor quality of data worldwide is really a big issue. So if one uses the current availability of data, I wonder whether we will get to the correct answers we need. Just as an example, this is the National Ophthalmology Database Audit run by the Royal College of Ophthalmologists. And 1/3 of eyes in this database, in this audit, did not have the visual acuity recorded of the patients after surgery. You just don't know how well the patient saw after surgery. So there is a whole range of things that are required which fit into the responsible AI argument of moving an AI from bench to the clinic or bedside. The validity is very important. The AI has to be valid in terms of fit for purpose. It has to be generalizable, so it should be available to be used and applied for a general range of patients. And if not, we need to know which patients, what are the boundary conditions for that. It has to be interpretable, because without that, we can't take the risk of having hallucinations and errors coming in. The question of longevity was addressed earlier in our discussion. Healthcare knowledge keeps changing, our insights keep changing, and our requirements keep changing. So whatever AI is built, we have to build in some future proofing into it, either on the structure or the techniques, or literally just being aware of it. And the last but not the least is a question of liability. Who is liable if things go wrong? Is it the AI? Is it the technology? Is it the surgeon? And hence, these are questions which need to be answered as we go along. There is huge potential. There's great chance of success ahead. But at the same time, everyone's promised the next big thing. And we know that there is also a lot of hype with AI. So for me, the strategy that's sensible is we build intelligent applications currently. We provide value for good quality data collection, which would allow us to then use the other techniques of AI, which are much more exciting, coming through to use as we go further forward. So really, just to summarize, CustomLens AI is an AI-assisted expert system. It is also a predictive AI engine. We implement mass customization, personalization, and scale up complexity, complex processes as such. And the whole aim, the whole gain, the whole impact is to improve vision outcomes without spectacles worldwide. Thank you. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Milind, for a thought-provoking presentation. Thanks for that. Everyone, please feel free to type any questions you might have in the chat or just raise hands. Okay. So while we are waiting for that, Milind, one question I had, because in this workshop and where we are with responsible AI at the moment, there is a lot of focus in global north for developing solutions which could be criticized as westernized and Western focused. So my question to you was, there are, India, for example, potentially is a huge market with this sort of problem all over the place. What you have been considering to apply a solution like this to low resource or developing countries?
So I think a good way of starting to look at that question is to say, what happens now? And the fact is that almost all models that we use in our calculations and our statistics have come through from Western literature, from Western populations, which we have extrapolated. There is no Indian data set available for calculating intraocular lenses. There is one in Japan, but not in India. But we have been using them for years in order to get reasonable results, and you can work within those. Now, the question of cost is the key here. Because we can implement this on the cloud and make it accessible to everyone, and we have designed the system to simply input or upload PDFs from any machine that someone's using as an input. And the minimum requirements are pretty low so that anyone from anywhere on the planet could access this. We will move into an evaluation phase, and I am talking, and in fact, we have lined up at least 3 different centers in India for evaluating this to see how we could do this. And the 3 centers are all in different contexts. So we have a charitable eye hospital, which does lots of high volume charity cataract surgery, voluntary sector. We have private institutions, and we will have individual practitioners too. And the same mix we are going to evaluate in the States, in UK, in Europe, in order to get a better understanding as to how things go. As time goes by, as all the individual countries, the data sets start coming in, we will then be able to refine those data sets to answer questions at an individual country level. And in the end, the question really comes down to, will this make a difference to a patient's vision? That's a very objective and a clear-cut way of measuring it. And if it doesn't, then we have to go back to the drawing board and come up with solutions which will make that difference. So there's a lot of work involved in this, I think, going forward, and the approach of whether it's Western or it's North or it's South, the simple answer is, a patient is a patient anywhere. And if they want to see better, we have to make them see better. And we have to get them the best vision possible without glasses. That's a universal need. How we meet that in individual situations is something we will have to work and refine towards.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions in the chat box. One is from Navi Krishna. Milind, how do you see startups and business in medical technology and invasion of AI into medtech? How do you see the potential and the pro and cons of a startup in medical technology?
Well, I think the startup has to meet a particular need, that's for sure. Defining that unmet problem, that unmet need, the problem you want to solve is the key to this. The problem has to be big enough. It has to have an impact. There's no point in solving a relatively small problem which makes a small difference to patients. So defining that problem, identifying that problem is really the first step. And then you have to start working out how you're going to solve the problem. And as everyone knows, you might come up with the best solution, but it doesn't mean it's going to be used by everyone around the world, because there are many other factors which one can never think of as we design these solutions. So one has to iterate, one has to apply, get the findings, learn, refine, and continually iterate to get to a workable solution which people will use. Once you have that, then I think it's a good potential for success worldwide. And at this moment in time, with the current AI techniques, the way I understand them, I consider healthcare AI as augmented AI, as AI at the current level, which assists medical staff and healthcare staff to make decisions either more efficiently or better, by easing the complexity of the process. Further on, the way AI develops and how it develops, it'll change things, and we just don't know. But yes, there is a lot of potential, but time will tell. So if the problem grabs you, yes, go ahead, try it, get a startup, but don't think that just by putting a startup and you will come to some kind of success. And I don't see definition of success as financial success. I think the definition of success is really, has it made a difference to patients?
Yeah. Thank you. I think related to that, the question is of regulatory processes and approval. So Will Jones, who is from Hull, is asking a question. I would be interested to know the developer perspective on the process of gaining regulatory approval for predictive AI algorithms.
So at the moment, the regulatory authorities are just starting to come to terms with AI and how it makes a difference. The key principle they work on is two things. One, is the AI explainable? And if it's not explainable, then it becomes very difficult to use that in clinical decision support systems. You can use deep learning systems, and they have been approved for image classification for diabetic retinopathy, for example. But for decision support systems like these, that will be a challenge. The other factor that they work on is it explainable, and what are the consequences if something goes wrong? If the AI assisted decision ends up in something which is not very consequential, then they're happy to go with it. But if it's something consequential, so if you get it wrong, if the patient dies or the patient loses an eye or an arm or leg, then they will look at it very severely, and the classification of the devices change accordingly, and it's a much more robust system. So it's those two factors which currently are driving which classification is applied to a particular AI system.
Thank you. While I wait for any further questions, I'll ask one more. I think you linked regulatory process to explainability, which is very interesting, and I agree that would be one of the requirements for a lot of the systems. So the kind of system you are developing, what is the explainability requirement? Does it come from the patient, or it comes from you are the expert clinician in this, or is it coming from clinician?
It is coming from clinicians. So the expert system is a heuristics-based, logic-based system. That knowledge base comes from me and all the expert surgeons and our repository of literature and knowledge that we have. It also has been designed to make sure that it is adaptable to different schools of thought. So there is, in biological systems, we always have variation. And this is one of the things I find we look at things differently whenever I'm working with engineers, AIs, that 2 and 2 is never 4. 2 and 2 in a biological system is somewhere between 3.5 and 4.5. So you have to have that adaptability to that variation that comes in. So in the design, we have designed it in such a way that it is adaptable to individual surgeons' preferences and how they think of certain aspects of their treatment plan, where the answer is not categorical one way or the other. So that is how the surgical plan generation comes through. The output of the predictive AI as to what a patient sees and things like that is based on unique data set that I have, which is from my own practice, where we capture data through routine clinical practice at a very high level. But it takes a lot of time with each patient, and it's a process which is not scalable. So the concept is we have reference practices which will provide this high quality, high value data, generate the insights, and those insights are then plugged into the expert system as we go along. So it is totally explainable. In fact, every process that we do internally, it generates a report which tells us how the algorithm's been applied to generate each and every component of the output we show.
Okay, thank you. I'll read out one last question before we bring this session to close. This is from Bhupesh Mishra, again from Hull. As a clinician, how much do you have trust on using simulated data, let's say generative AI data, to improve the accuracy in your system?
So the only approach to synthetic data that has been used in cataract refractive surgery is in generating synthetic data of different eye parameters and use those models to generate a very high volume of unusual eyes. So our methods are very good when the eye is within, let's say, 2 standard deviations of the mean. But once we go to the extremes, our calculations are not that good. And in those scenarios, because the number of eyes is limited that exist in there, synthetic data generation has been used and tried to enhance the models and see if it can make a difference. There is some early data to show perhaps it could make a difference, but so far all those approaches end up saying it's as good as using our formulas based on basic optics and individual statistical modeling, which are based on regression, to kind of refine those theoretical formulae as such. So yes, it is possible, but I think all those things are things which at a very early stage in healthcare and will need lots and lots of work to actually have the confidence of using it. And in the end, the test will be you plug it into the clinical world and see if it makes a difference.
Thank you so much, Milind. We'll bring the session to close, the morning session. But before we do that, thank you so much, Milind, for making the travel, delivering this talk, very insightful, and answering those questions in very much detail. And we will, I'm sure, continue some of this discussion in the panel which you are part of in the afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone.